And it's armor plated, except for the front windows where the driver sits. So I think the Secret Service has figured out that you have to protect the driver too these days. But
what's up, everybody? I'm Chris Forsberg, and welcome back to an all-new season of Garage Tours. On this episode, we head out to the Petersen Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, California. This unique museum explores and presents the history of the automobile and its impact on American culture. This place is 3 floors plus a vault, so we have a lot of exploring to do. We're out here in downtown sunny Los Angeles, California at the Miracle Mile in front of the Petersen Automotive Museum. The Petersen Museum is one of the largest automotive museums in the world, and we hear that they have a ridiculous collection of cars, from movie cars to street cars to race cars. So let's head inside and check it out. Leslie.
Chris, how are you?
Yeah.
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Welcome to the Petersen Museum.
Yeah, it is amazing. Just in the parking lot walking in here, there's cars on display, so you got a lot to show off.
You see a lot of cars not only in the building, but in the parking lot too.
Well, let's see the rest of it.
Let's go.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about what the overall vision is here at the Petersen?
Well, the Petersen Museum exists to explore and present the history of the automobile and its impact on American life and culture.
Now, with all these different cars that you have here, I imagine that some of them need a little bit of work and some maintenance to keep them looking as wonderful as they do.
We have a shop on site. It's our basement level, we call the vault.
Okay.
We have in our possession more than 300 cars. The vault is where we keep them when they're not on display, and also where we work on them when we need to.
All right, well, the vault sounds like my kind of place. People getting busy on cars, so can we go check that out?
I'd love to show you. Let's do it.
Cool. Well, this car looks like it's getting a bit of work, so when you get these cars to put on display in the museum, do they typically come needing some restoration?
Well, car museums are kind of unique in the world of museums because we have to maintain a balance between the long-term needs of conservation and the shorter-term needs of presentation and exhibition. But a car like this is the XR6 from 1962. It's a Hot Rod magazine project car they built over a span of 3 months. We have been invited to participate with this car at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, and we're getting it ready for the show. Few things more exciting than watching a car move through space.
Yeah, that's what I find amazing about the cars that we've seen so far. They all seem to be in operation still. It's not just a display piece and or even a replica. These are actually the real cars running and driving.
You bet. It's about being real. We want to give our visitors as accurate an idea of what these objects really are as we possibly can.
You mind taking us through to see the rest of them?
I'd be very happy to do that.
All right.
Well, one of the cars the Petersen Museum is best known for is our 1925/1934 Round Door Rolls Royce. And as you can see, it gets its name from the almost perfectly round doors. This car was actually built in 1925 as a cabriolet. In 1934, the owner at that time didn't like the bodywork anymore, and he had the coach builder throw it away, and he had Jan in Belgium build this incredible aerodynamic coupe. This is a really, really huge car. It's got twin sunroofs, it's got windows that open in a fan pattern, it's got a sloping grille, it's got a fin in the back, it's got louvers that you see through into the rear. I mean, it's just full of all kinds of little detail invention.
Now, this is obviously a very recognizable car, but why the gold?
This was built for an American Express gold card promotion in the early 1980s, and it is plated in 24 karat gold, and it's, I would say, the only car in our collection whose value fluctuates with the precious metals market.
You guys obviously have a ton of classics down here. What would be the exact reason for this car being here?
Well, this car is a perfect example of a muscle car. That's a car built during the late 50s into the early 70s that had way more power than it needed. They deleted certain features off of it. For example, it does not have windshield wipers. It does not have hubcaps. It doesn't have a radio. It doesn't have a heater. It has nothing that will weigh it down. Under the hood is a very, very hungry, very thirsty 426 Hemi engine, the most powerful engine of its day.
It's funny that back in that time, Dodge was one of the companies that was building these drag cars for the street, and into this very day, they're kind of bringing that back, and so to see it kind of go full circle is very interesting. Yeah. Now, it looks like you got quite the fleet behind you here, so why don't you tell us a little bit about maybe at least one or two of these presidential cars that we have here?
Well, the Petersen Museum has a great collection of head of state cars. We have over in this corner the 1942 Lincoln that was built for Franklin Delano Roosevelt and then used by Harry Truman later. And this is the Lincoln. It's a 1967 built for Nixon, and it's armor plated, except for the front windows where the driver sits. So I think the Secret Service has figured out that you have to protect the driver too these days.
Well, now, aside from these head of state vehicles, it looks like these come from a little bit of a different background. Can you tell us about these?
Well, we have vehicles that are associated with fairly sinister people. One of them is Saddam Hussein's Mercedes 600 State Landaulet, a vehicle that he owned and used during his reign in Iraq. We also have Soviet Premier Khrushchev's Chaika, four-door convertible parade phaeton. We also have the Hongqi, which means red flag in Chinese, that was built in Automobile Factory Number 1 in China. Another vehicle in the collection is a Packard that we believe was used by Juan and Evita Peron. And we also have a Papal Cadillac parade phaeton. You have to have one of a Pope car.
Now, this is a car that I've definitely never seen before.
Well, a lot of people walk up to this car and they think it's amphibious just because it's got wicker seats and it looks a little bit like a boat.
It's ready for the beach.
It's anything but it is ready for the beach. It's called a Fiat Chalet, and only about 24 of these were ever built.
Wow.
The whole idea behind this car was to take it to your seaside residence so you could shuttle your guests or your VIPs around your estate, or you could even carry it aboard your yacht so that when you were island hopping in the Mediterranean, you had land transportation at whatever port you docked.
Sounds perfect. Now, this is obviously a very recognizable car from the old Green Hornet TV series, but I bet not too many people, including myself, know what it actually is, since it's been so modified. So
well, this is a very modified 1965 Imperial. Dean Jeffries, the same fellow that did the Monkey Mobile and dozens of other cars for television in Hollywood, also modified two 65 Imperials for use on the TV series. And not only did he create this car as Black Beauty from the Green Hornet in the mid-1960s, he also restored it.
And this is a pretty amazing looking car, obviously very custom.
Well, this is about as custom as you can get a car and still kind of recognize what it started as. It's a 1948 Cadillac that was customized for Billy F. Gibbons of ZZ Top.
Oh, there you go.
Billy is very, very well known for his love of cars, and he has a lot of these, and he actually drives them, and he features them in his videos, and he features them on his album covers. They're pretty well known, not just for being wonderful customs, but for being in the public eye for music aficionados.
All right, I'm sure we could stand down here and talk about all these different cars in the vault. There's just endless amounts of them, but what I really want to see before we take off is that Ferrari exhibit. So, you got time for that?
Let's go upstairs.
All right. Gotta know about this car.
Well, this is the oldest Ferrari that survives.
That's incredible.
Serial number 2. There was only one Ferrari built before this. It was an experimental car that was destroyed. This chassis, this engine, this is from the very first Ferrari. Now, a lot of Ferraris, once they finish one race, they might have been rebodied or they might have been damaged and then they had to have some repair. But this car was restored to its original first race configuration. Wow. This is what Ferrari first looked like in 1947.
To see this car here, like you said, it's the actual number 2 car, the longest surviving Ferrari. It's incredible to see such a car.
Well, it's about people having an authentic experience, coming here and seeing how the car looked. And there it was in its first race.
Yeah, well, I think this is the perfect car to end our tour. As you said, there's hundreds of cars here, and I wish we had time to hear stories about them all, but thank you again.
Not at all.
We'll see you soon.
All right, you take your time. Have a good look.
Well, that's it for this episode. We'll see you next time on Garage Tours.